guys, Ash here, Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Glad to have you all here, and I am not alone today. I am joined by Skatch. Skatch, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, what's up, Ash? Thanks for having me on. Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How you liking the game lately? Like on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your interest level in Raid as of late?
9.5.
Oh, dang, bro. I'm actually in the same boat, man. I feel like the last time that we spoke, we were both kind of like, maybe a 5 or a 6 or whatever.
They gave me 3 stars like a bunch of You son of
Yeah, but really, you're liking the new event dungeon and all the Asgard champions and stuff, basically.
Yeah, I think it's a very cool event, to be honest, and definitely opening the possibilities for them to bring all sorts of similar events in the future.
Yeah,
are not tied to IPs, and they don't need to create all the FOMO and stuff. Like these champions will disappear. You're never gonna get them. People will be pissed and stuff. So I definitely like this model. I love the 7-day login. Actually, the 14-day login system that they've introduced with Aidlin before. 2 phases is amazing. You're getting the 5-star soul for the champion too. So I'm feeling really positive about the game lately, to be honest. I know we still have the same old issues and stuff like books, silvers, etc. But other than that, in terms of content and the pace of delivering the content, I feel like they're definitely doing a great job.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I'm enjoying the new event. It feels like it's a breath of fresh air. There we go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Look, I ain't no English teacher.
Anyway, today we're gonna talk about how to get a ton more damage. Like in some cases, 2x, 3x your damage. If you Hydra, you know, part of it's the gear, part of it's the champions, obviously, but a big part of it is the builds. And also, like, finding the right buffs and debuffs on each team, right? So, like, once you have those puzzle pieces figured out, then your damage can go up exponentially, and then you can upgrade from there, like the gear and the champions in those key roles. So, I wanted to talk about kind of where the meta is right now, because at least in my world, Scratch, things have changed quite a bit over the last few months, maybe 6 months, you know, and I don't think that it took me a while to like catch up on all these trends, right? So I'm sure a few viewers might benefit as well. So we're gonna talk about the 5 biggest meta sets right now and what type of champions we're seeing people use on all these world record teams and even the non-world record teams. Just like what are the best and most effective sets for more damage and just more results out of your Hydra team. So you're the guest here, Scratch. Do you want to go first with your personal favorite?
Yeah, I can. So this is going to be a set that's actually super useful, and is the curse set that you can farm from the Ice Golem. This has the potential to absolutely give you hundreds of millions of damage on your team. It really depends how much damage is your team doing, right? So it's basically giving you a 10% extra damage from the initial hit on all of the other heads that have the hex. So the good thing about the set is that you don't need to force yourself to bring in a hex champion in your team. I know we have with Trala, we have a few different hex champions that are really, really good. But if you're looking to kind of like dive into the meta and build strong teams that will drop tons and tons of damage, or just overall, even if you're not necessarily looking at that, you just want to improve your damage, slowly you will have to cut out those champions out of your teams, because they're great to push progression, great to push you to a specific level, but you're going to hit the wall from there. So dropping a hex champion for a curse set will go far ahead, because you just need to put it on an AoE champion, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be the basic skill as an AoE. It can have a couple of different AoE skills, and you're getting so much damage out of that set. And talking about the meta and kind of like a bit off topic,
yeah, just like me.
The meta right now is single target hitters rather than AoE hitters in terms of whoever can bring more damage. Yes, I know Toshiro, Tranda, they're still very powerful as AoEs. They are the most powerful, actually, but
yeah,
the rest of them that are not...
It's more of a mixed bag than it was previously.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I love it, man. Who is your favorite, your personal favorite on your account? Who are you building in a curse set? I'm showing Krisk. I run Krisk and Curse. I'm sure if anybody is lucky enough to have this dude, a lot of people probably take advantage of a build like this as a Hex champion. And then outside of the curse sets, like I still am a big fan of Michinaki. I think he's my favorite Hex applier, and Archer Queen. Like those are my 2 favorites that are still in my rotation. But anyway, so who do you use in Curse?
So I'm using in Curse Krisk. I'm using Yinchenza because I don't have protection for her at the moment. And I'm using it even on Lydia, but that's for my Tranda team. And Mayumeko cannot apply the Hex, so I need Hex from Lydia, and that's actually massive, you know. Protection would be great there as well, but we're going to talk about it in a second. But I'm still using Cursed on my Lydia, so she doesn't have a single target AoE, you know, but it's still very viable.
Yeah, man. Okay, so this is some good call-outs there. I love Curse as well, man. It's a game-changing set for a lot of players out there. It's easy maybe to find one Hex champion on your account. Difficult to find 3 for every single one of your teams. And you need Hex. You're leaving like so much damage off the table there. Estra Dream Song, I see a lot of players run her as well because she has the extra turn to get back to the A2 pretty quickly as well.
Promise that you'll never find another like me.
So there's a lot of Nekmo Thar you can run, like a lot of AoEs, right? Ugo, Mighty Uko rather, Ukko, whatever the hell you call his name. I don't know who's. There's one other. These are not meta champions, but I like Tremaria in Hex. She can deal out some sneaky damage on her A1. So these are just some options there. But guys, really, you're looking, as Scratch said, for AoEs. You know. All right. Who are we gonna go with next? Or I'll go next. Let's just go with like the obvious, man. Well, actually, let's not go the obvious. Let's go one of the other ones. Ever since protection was available in accessories, it changed the damn game because they made 9-piece protection available. And it's hard to get. It's hard to get protection accessories, but the more time that goes by, hopefully, the more we have a chance to get our hands. And I tell everybody, keep your protection and stone skin accessories. Even if they're crap, keep them, use your chaos ore on them, or maybe even then keep them, because just having the set can circumvent the worst stats sometimes. So protection, I mean, I'm actually typing protection into my champion filter. Way to go, Ash. Basically, we're finding champions that bring, 2 or more buffs, like as many as possible. And we're putting him in a 9-piece protection. I have Lady Mikage in one. She only has 2 buffs, but having actually, a wrong Mikage. There we go. She only has 2 buffs, but that's 10% more damage, and she can extend those buffs too, right? So getting 10% more damage, Scratch, on just a massively long run, some of these hour plus, hour and a half, if you're full manual, it makes a huge difference, especially when you start stacking in a couple protection sets on your buffers. So protection is probably one that I guess I'm not too embarrassed to admit I probably slept on the longest. I have Androck as well in a 9-piece protection. I mean, this just really changes the game in terms of the overall damage at the end of the day. It's just straight up damage bonus.
Yeah, it is a massive, massive bonus from it. And as you mentioned, only use your Chaos Swords, guys, on very important sets, like Protection, Stone Skin. Now we have Feral. Now we have the new Pinpoint set. These sets are so important that you cannot afford to basically just throw away all of the pieces that don't look perfect. Like I'm keeping 5-star gear from all of these sets. I don't really care about them if they're not perfect or no. I just want to make sure that I have a full set when I need it for that faction. And I have rubbish accessories from Protection or Stone Skin, but I'm still using them on my main champions. Because they're so important nowadays that you cannot ignore them. Regardless of whatever stats they have. And I finally got my banner as well for Feral protection, so I can make a 9-piece now after like 6, 7, 8 months. I can't even remember, so definitely pretty pumped about it. Nice.
But wait, for Feral you said?
Feral, the tree from the Sylvan Walker.
Oh, my bad. I'm like, how would you have access to Feral gear for 9 months, bro? Cheater.
No.
Is he making things up?
I got you for Feral. Okay, cool. So protection's next. You're up next. What's number 3?
So, in my opinion, the next one is the Merciless.
Yes.
It's just such a good set, man. And you cannot. You can run it not only on damage dealers, you can run it on support champions as a reflex, So this kind of like gave a bit of more value to reflex sets if you pair them together, but at the same time killed reflex because you don't really need a reflex anymore when you're using 4 pieces of this next to something else, So not only that it decreases the cooldown of your skills, but it gives you 35% ignore defense, it gives you attack, it gives you crit damage, it gives you speed. Pretty much everything that you need for a damage dealer, right? So is very, very impactful on a solid damage dealers for Hydra. I have a couple of good sets that I'm constantly swapping around on all of my Hydra teams, and that's how I managed to get my ninja to do 2.6 billion on Nightmare.
Woo! That is impressed. 2.6 billion.
I'm fine. I'm telling you, I'm fine.
Yeah, but what's of course with Theox as well. But
okay, I was gonna say, what the heck was the team, bro? But yeah, man, Merciless is where it's at, dude. Basically, all your top DPS. Yeah, maybe with a few exceptions, right? Like it's just the set to go with. And even even on, like, to your point, even on supports that have like crucial abilities that you want to decrease the cooldown on that can maybe even deal a little bit of damage too. Like, you can't go wrong with freaking Merciless, right?
Not at all. No.
So
it's
strong.
Just so good.
Yeah. Okay, so I have like Toshiro, Turvold. I mean, basically all my damage dealers. I could go to any of my main ones, and they're going to be in Merciless. All right, next up, we're going to go with, this is, we're going to end with two sets that are probably kind of the top two sets from the previous meta, like a year ago or something. And I want to get your take on how popular you think they still are, how viable they still are. So let's start with Relentless, okay? Relentless was where it's at for a long time. And now there's some downsides to Relentless. Number one is they can strip away your buffs, right? Which you don't want to happen, especially when parlayed with protection 9-piece champions, right? And you just don't want it to happen in general. So getting those extra turns does have a downside. Moreover, too, if you're trying to really min-max and you can go all the distance of the turn count, you know, you'll be taking extra turns on a champion that might not be, you know, equal to the highest DPS outcome on that team. So those are some downsides. But there's a lot of upsides too. So why don't you give me your thoughts before I hedge and give you mine?
Sounds good. So basically, the main thing that kind of like knocked down the Relentless is the addition to the Great Hall, right? So you have the area bonus for Hydra, which really puts the raw DPS at the top of the food chain. Before that, enemy max HP nukers were the way to go in the Hydra, right? Relentless, because the more turns they take, the more damage. You had the 10% cap, so it doesn't really matter if you have Savage or not. So Relentless was the absolute best set for damage dealers. But since the addition of the new area for the Great Hall, where you can ignore 20% defense, you have extra stats, crit damage, attack, etc., the enemy max HP nukers are just not what they used to be anymore, and they're hard capped by what they can do in Hydra. So that's why all of the crazy teams that are able to really push good damage, hundreds of millions, billions, are using raw damage dealers, and you won't see any enemy max HP nukers in there anymore.
I agree. So who are you putting Relentless on nowadays, if anybody?
Nobody.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I have kind of like teams that I'm running on auto sometimes when I can't be bothered, and I have probably the only champion that's still in Relentless for me is Patrick, the ally attack champion. That's it. Nobody else.
Well, I'll give you some example. Oh, so let me give you my number one example, and it kind of goes along with Patrick because he's doing something on his passive that is extremely valuable every turn. But then again, he's giving it either way when he takes a turn on Patrick. But Tawana Rock, right? Like she's got to be the example, right? Or a Doom Priest for that matter, because she's doing something really important every time, which is cleansing debuffs. Now, granted, you know, usually you're only looking to cleanse, you know, the True Fear, you know, from the Torment. But, you know, sometimes there's more than one debuffs out there. You can't always have the block debuffs up or whatever. So I still prefer running a Tawana Rock in Relentless. What about you? Like, if you're going to run Tawana Rock, would that be your set of choice, or would you go other route?
I had her in Relentless for a very long time. Then I changed her to 9-piece protection.
Yeah. Okay. So Relentless is taking a little bit of a backseat. I still run Archer Queen in Relentless as well. In Michinaki, you can make the same kind of case. Basically, champions with super strong AoEs that you know, like with 2-turn downtime or uptime on the debuffs, right? So like getting in here and landing and refreshing your decreased speed, getting in there and refreshing your hexes on like an Archer Queen can be really nice. But on a super well balanced team in a perfect world, which isn't reality for most players, right? In a perfect world, you could still build her in Merciless and get the same kind of result, right? So I guess that's what we're saying here. But I still think that it's a top 5 set, top 5 build, just to get, you know, especially if you have like a 1-turn provoker, you might want to put them in Relentless to get that extra turn. But then again, you might want to put them in Merciless. So
I know. I think it's a great startup set, you know, till you're kind of like building your teams and you're kind of like advancing, evolving with the damage and stuff. But after, it's going to drop from pretty much every team, as long as the players have that as their main goal. If they don't have that as the main goal and they're happy with 50, 60 million damage, which is nothing wrong with it, you know, you're just not probably going to win the clash like that. But as long as you're happy with it, Relentless is still going to get the job done. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you could even go, like, again, this is not popular in the end game right now, but you could even go with like an Elva or something in Relentless, like one of these passive healers, you know, to just get those extra heals, getting those extra turns. So there's, to me, it's still a viable option because you're not going to have enough Merciless gear or protection gear to put on all your best or all the champions. But we should have said this at the top here. It helps a lot. Granted, it still costs a lot, but the preset manager is probably one of the best things that Raid has ever done. It allows you to save your best gear in these sets and then trying to time your gear removal discounts and try to mule around your best sets to the champions that, you know, you need them in that particular run for.
I love the preset.
Yeah, it's a game changer, man. Okay, last set. What is it?
Last set. So
let's build.
We're there already. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Savage Lethal, to be honest, because while the Slayer set is amazing, I don't want to mention that because I already see people smoking me in the comments. Scratch, what do you mean Slayer is not top 5? It's an amazing set, super hard to get. Okay, it's only from the Forge Pass. I still personally don't have a good set out of it, and I'm a spender, right?
I don't have a good 9-piece either, of Slayer. It is tough.
It only works on specific champions. You need to have AoE champions if you want that set to really be good to ignore the defense and stuff. So if you don't really have it's great on champions like Oboro, champions like Marius, Razelvarg because of 2 AoE, so they're gonna deal crazy damage with that. But it really limits you to a very small pool of champions, while if you have a Savage or a Lethal, works on everybody, is farmable from dungeons or Doom Tower, much easier to get good stats. You don't need to bring in a 9-piece, so you can pair it with a few pieces of Merciless, for example, and still have a very, very solid solid build. So that's why, personally, I value Savage Lethal more than Slayer, just in general, you know?
Yeah, well, it's certainly easier to get, and it's going to be a go-to, I'm sure, for the vast majority of players watching right now. So basically, is it as easy as Savage Lethal on all your damage dealers? I mean, like, it really fits on every damage dealer that you have, especially maybe a secondary damage dealer if you have a great Merciless set or a great Slayer set for that matter on your AoE or whoever champion. You're going to have more than one damage dealer on your team, likely, you know, so you're probably going to have, you can put a Savage or Lethal. I still have my Garrow, for example, in Savage and Lethal because on a Garrow Blood Maul, I mean, sure, on her alternate form, she has, you know, a really hard-hitting A2 ability, which is awesome, but really, it's all her magma slams throughout the duration of the battle, right? So I don't necessarily need that cooldown. So I'd rather use my best Merciless gear on another damage dealer. Now, obviously, I'm using a mythical, for example, probably a bad one, but you kind of get the point. Is you try to take your Merciless for the champions that you really want to reduce skill cooldowns, and maybe use your Savage and Lethal on your other DPS, right?
Yeah, Slayer will work great on Garrow, for example, as well, but I find it so hard to be able to build a champion on decent stats with the Slayer, while it's so much easier to do it with Savage or other similar gear sets, you know, because they're just way more accessible and you can try and get them on almost on daily basis, while with the Slayer it takes ages, the accessories, and it's honestly not worth dropping 1.5k attack and 50 crit damage.
Yeah, there is that line.
Savage, because there is that line, exactly. So
my Trunda, I still run in Savage and in crit damage, even though I could probably go Zeal or something like that. But either way, I still run her in Savage, and it's partially because on a Trunda team, I don't care about the reduction of cooldowns. I've already got that covered, you know, by White Dryad Nayas or Yamekos or whatever. So I'll just go for the all-out damage here and save my gear for somebody else. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of options out there. That being said, though, I still think the best Trundas are still going to be in Merciless, you know?
Yeah, mine is in Merciless just because I don't have her at 6-star anyway, but she ignores more defense. That's the whole reason. Because a lot of the times people are asking me, Scratch, why are you using Merciless over Savage on this champion? It's all because you can ignore 35% of the target's defense. You're getting the attack, you're getting the crit damage, while the Savage doesn't give you all that, you know.
For sure, man. Hey, well, one more honorable mention. You actually mentioned, I'll give you credit because you were mentioning it off air, but Feral, and we mentioned it very briefly. Feral, like nobody has almost a 9-piece, or very, very few. Very hard, very new to the game at the time of this recording. But when we can get this to 9 pieces, when it's a little bit more, you know, available, accessible in the community as time goes by, allies deal 5% more damage per each debuff placed by the wearer. That could be huge, just like a 9-piece protection can be huge, you know?
Absolutely. It's going to be a very solid set for that, yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on the channel, Scratch. Hopefully this helps people
Thanks for
out.
having me.
Because these are, you don't have to have all the OP champions that we highlighted, but just put it on those sorts of champions and you'll have a big damage boost. Guys, we're gonna go ahead and do a collab, on Scratch's channel talking about epic revivers. I will see you in that one. Thanks again to Scratch. You can see all his information in the show notes and the comments below. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.